Hello and welcome to your Daily Detroit. It is Wednesday, December 23rd, 2020, and I am Jer Stays. Today, we are talking to Fletcher Sharpe because there is so much happening with sports on and off the field. We're going to talk Pistons, Detroit City FC, and the Detroit Lions. So, buckle up, strap in, let's do this thing. But first, a quick reminder that this show is powered by our members at patreon.com/dailydetroit. Your support is crucial, and thank you so very much. Hey, Fletch, it is good to have you back on Daily Detroit, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Of course. So there is a lot in the sports world to talk about, not just on the court or the field, but off the court as well. I want to kick it off with news that my inbox has just been busy all day around it because it's Big Sean, and it seems like everybody lives Big Sean. Big Sean is joining the Pistons as the creative director of innovation. I'll be honest, I have no idea what that means. Can you help me out?
Essentially, he's going to be what Drake is for the Toronto Raptors.
Oh.
Which is cultivate the vibes, as the kids would say. He's going to help, I guess, with impact as it comes to music on the court, bridging social engagements between the team and between other players, and just things of that nature. Like, he's essentially just like, I don't want to say a mascot because he's more than a mascot, but kind of like that.
I mean, he's just beloved in this town, and it's something where it kind of adds a little bit of an entertainment edge to a team that, you know, their on-the-court performance has just not been that great over the last few years.
It's going to offer fans a chance to come to games, and like the Pistons will probably still lose, but the music will be better. Halftime shows will be better. Community outreach events will be better. You'll see Big Sean more, which I'm sure will just draw people to come to games when they can come to games. Because right now, I don't think the Pistons are cleared to have fans.
Well, I will say this right off the bat, that if Big Sean wants to come on the show and talk about exactly what he's going to do, the door is open, sir.
That's the perfect segue.
So, Pistons preseason, what is the team looking like?
Honestly, kind of how we expected. I feel a little bit better about number one pick for them, Killian Hayes. I feel a little bit better about the pick for him. I was a little worried because I watched his jump shot and like, oh my God, the ball is not supposed to spin like that, but it works for him. He's very crafty at a young age. Typically, crafty is used to describe someone who's not very athletic, but I mean it in the sense that like he actually is pretty athletic, pretty big for a point guard. He's 6'5", 215, which is in like 1970. That's like a small forward. So he's pretty big for a kid his age and a player his size. He gets into the paint. He knows how to dribble. We're fine there. Sadiq Bey looks like Chris Middleton 2.0, as I've said before. A nice 3-and-D player, 3-point shooter and defensive specialist who can give you some points. Isaiah Washington very much, as we expected, is going to be a bull in a china shop down low, getting rebounds, putting the ball back up, just a ball of energy. Still very raw offensively, but like he tries very hard. My biggest question marks I'm still worried about, Jeremy Grant offensively. Very big question marks. He has shown that his game is still very much give me the ball while I'm moving very fast and let me lay it up at the hoop. Him creating his own shot is going to be a nightmare. And if he continues to play the way he's playing now, people are going to be very upset that he got as much money as he got. On the bright side, though, people are very sad about Luke Kennard leaving the Pistons and playing with the Clippers. And they're like, we should use him. Luke Kennard still cannot defend anybody, and it'll be shown on a very bigger screen out in Los Angeles. So we're not missing that there. The team should be better defensively. I don't know how they're going to score. Blake Griffin will still Blake Griffin. He's still going to be able to create. He's going to help take the pressure off Killian Hayes. Derrick Rose will be providing a good spark off the bench, along with Sekou Doumbia, who everyone has been looking forward to watching play. He's shown tremendous strides during the preseason, so I'm looking forward to seeing him actually take off. And next year, hopefully, he's a starting small forward.
So since coronavirus is out there, there's so many variables. I'm not going to ask you how many wins the Pistons will get, but I'm going to ask you to make a little prediction, if you will. What is going to be their win percentage? Because I don't think it's fair to say how many wins, because we really, to be very honest, don't know how many games the season is going to play. Who knows what's going to happen? We've learned with COVID that stuff just gets messed up. But what is the win percentage you think they're going to go for?
Well, let me do a little bit of math right here. You know what? I can't do math. So I'm going to say this. Whatever the win percentage is for someone losing 48, 50 games out of 73, that.
So they're going to be under 500.
by far.
Okay.
If this team sniffs 500, they're going to make the playoffs. And like, if that happens, same thing with the Lions. I will get an old Pistons logo tattooed somewhere in my body.
An old one. Okay.
Heck, I'll even get the flaming horse logo.
Oh Lord.
I don't care. I'll get a Pistons logo. I'll even get the old Tin Man when they were the Fort Wayne Pistons. I'll even do that. I don't care. Defensively, they'll be better. Offensively, they're going to have very problems creating. I don't see them winning more than 25 games. I'm sorry.
Well, let's go from the court to the pitch and talk about Detroit City FC. It is the off season, but there is some news as far as their development side on the men's team.
Definitely. And the women's as well.
Oh, okay.
The men's side, as everyone knows, competes in NISA. The women's side started their season last year in the UWSL. Both sides, men's and women, will both have supplementary sides in junior leagues. The women's side will be in the second division of the UWSL, which will provide a nice bridge from their youth teams in high school and college to the UWSL, which is still more of a college player summer league, but still you might get a few professional players who want to come back and play. The men's side will put together a U23 team in the newly formed Midwestern Premier League, which is kind of like the MPSL for those who follow Detroit City FC. It's going to be a league that's mainly full of teams that have a lot of college players, a lot of older players you might have heard once or twice who are looking for chances to come back and play somewhere locally, and a few people who might have played professionally are looking to bounce back. You might not recognize all the team names, as a lot of them are newer, but you'll still recognize some locations. Lansing Common FC is formed from the ashes of Lansing United. So while the players might not be the same, the fans definitely are. You have BIH Grand Rapids, which is basically Bosnia-Herzegovina's version of the Grand Rapids team. Very skilled team. You have Inter Detroit, which is going to feature Detroit City FC player George Chamakov. It's his team. In the region, you have RWB Adria, based out of Chicago, the Croatian powerhouse who, like, last time they played Detroit, beat them in penalty kicks, I think 5-6 years ago in the U.S. Open Cup. I was there for that. It was a very interesting game. You also have Milwaukee Bavarians, who are the most acclaimed, most championship-holding soccer team in U.S. soccer lower division history. So to have those two teams I just mentioned, RWB Adria and Milwaukee Bavarians, in your league is a great thing to have. They are the creme de la creme of lower level soccer. And the best thing about this for Detroit City FC fans, while I know everyone wants to win, obviously the point of playing a sport is to win. You don't really like to lose or tie. But as most of these teams, their number one team is going to be in the Midwestern Premier League. So like they will be trying their hardest. Detroit will be trying their hardest as well. But the goal of this team is not to win every single game. They would like to and they'd love to. I know that. I know Coach Trevor James wants a win whenever he can get a win. But the goal of this team is to develop these players who might be from high school coming to play for this team, who might be from a college coming to play for this team, who might be trying to just get back in the professional circuit, maybe even just a bridge from high school to the NISA League team. So it's just a good way to get out there and see players whose names you might hear of in a different league, much bigger league in the next few years.
Well, it's always good to have news for Detroit City FC. I know how much listeners care about the team, and I do too. I mean, it's just great to see that the club is growing and developing. We're going to change gears here because I feel like we got to talk about this. The Lions are getting racked by COVID-19 quarantines right now. It's unclear if head coach Darren Bevell is going to be able to work for the game. And then on top of that, he actually missed his 28th wedding anniversary, spending it in quarantine in a hotel instead of with his wife. It is something that is hitting the organization pretty hard. So far, it seems like people are going to play on Sunday, but it's of growing concern and the practice facility has been closed. None of this is surprising to you or me, but I feel like it's inevitable, and I feel like it's kind of a terrible capping on a season that it's a mess, and I'm not even sure why Stafford's doing what he's doing right now, because Stafford is playing through a lot of pain, and I have no idea why, because this team ain't worth it.
Well, number one, I'll say this. I'm a lot softer on professional athletes playing during COVID because they're compensated for it. So, like, play the game, don't play the game, they get paid for it. College kids, different story. They're not being paid. Don't force them to play. But professional, if they want to play through it, hey, it's their choice. They have the money to be tested. The organization tests them as often as possible. I don't think the Lions should play just for like the principal sake of safety for everyone else, for their families involved. Matthew Stafford's getting beat up horribly. As you mentioned, he's playing through a lot of injuries. I wouldn't do it per se, but I know he's very much this Iron Man, tough guy, wants to grit it out for Detroit. And the fans appreciate that because it's very much like blue collar attitude. It's like how Cal Ripken was for the Baltimore Orioles, where it's like this guy always shows up. Broken finger, twisted ankle, back issue, whatever. He's out there playing for us and we appreciate it. And that's totally fine, especially because the Lions don't expect much. Like, they don't expect to win anything else the rest of the year. They're just going out there to just have fun and play. If that's what you want to do with your life, okay, man. Like, hey, good for you. To me, it signifies he might not be here much longer. And he just wants to give people like a nice swan song to be like, hey, remember that last year Stafford played? He went out tough. There have been a lot of think pieces written about Matthew Stafford recently where they're like, just let him go.
So many.
Let him go to a Super Bowl contending team. Let him win a Super Bowl. And like, I don't think these people realize, like, while Stafford's carrying the offensive lot, a lot of the mistakes on offense are his fault. Like, interceptions, like, some of them are dropped passes. Some of them are just very bad reads. And like, I'm not trying to say that he's all at fault for it.
Well, he's playing through so much. Like, I don't know. I look at it and go, if you're looking forward to saying, I'm going to have a career in the NFL, wherever I'm going to be, whether it's with the Lions or anywhere else, like, there's no reason to put yourself through the damage of these games with the issues that he's having. I mean, he's got damage to his ribs on his throwing side. Like, there's so many things. I'm sitting there going, this just doesn't make any sense to me. I understand the blue collar heroics, but I understand it when you're trying, like, when it makes a difference. When it doesn't make a difference, I feel like it's just beating yourself up.
Well, there are certain cities that, like, you go to and, like, if you get to them, it doesn't matter. Detroit, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and I'll even throw Cleveland in there. If you go to any of those 4 teams, whatever your injury is, unless your head is completely off your body, and even in some cases they still might not care, you better go out there and gut it out. So, like, even though the Lions are, like, not doing well, they're playing horribly. Hey, man, like, suck it up. Like, we need you. Yeah, we're gonna lose 48-12, but without you, we'll lose 48-0.
That ain't worth it. Sorry, that ain't worth it.
So, like, go out there, give it the best you can, and, you know, push through. I say that as somebody who played at a high school who wasn't really known for football. And like, we never finished with a winning record the years I was on varsity. But like, it's like, hey, like, go out there and try your hardest. Like, yeah, it's the last game. No, we're not going to make the playoffs, but we could win this game and, you know, just have a nice smile on our face at the end of the season. And it's like, well,
I'm not saying not try. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying when your body's in pieces, and Stafford has played for years with these kinds of issues, like, what if he had something more catastrophic that happened that impacts him for the rest of his life? And I know that he gets paid a lot of money, and I'm not feeling that kind of sympathy. I just look at it and go, all right, let's say this guy stays here next year, and he is going to be the guy who we're going to have for the next couple of years. Is it worth it to burn him now?
No, he is going to have issues that stay with him the rest of his life. He's had so many back issues that he's going to have a hard time walking upright by the time he's 45.
Ugh.
His body should be donated to science after he dies, because they're going to find so many different things messed up with him that, like, you didn't think were humanly possible. But again, it goes back to the blue collar, like, we need you. We might lose this game with you, but we're going to definitely lose it without you. We need you to come in here and try anyways. From an outsider perspective, like, yeah, it stinks. And you're like, that makes 0 sense. But from an insider perspective, you know, your teammates are kind of like another family of yours, and like, you don't want to disappoint them. So if you can give it a try, you give it a try. And like, I'm sure he knows if we have to go to a backup quarterback, we're not winning the game at all. Like, it's very much a 0. And I think he doesn't want to give like that mental edge to the other team. And like, while I understand how that like sounds kind of silly, but like, I played through many multiple injuries in high school and in college, just because it's like, I don't want to let my team down. I don't want to do this. And it's like, look, I remember one time where I actually separated my shoulder playing recreational league soccer. And rather than go to the hospital, I had someone pop it back into my socket and then go back out onto the field and play until the game was over. And the doctor's like, you actually did a lot more damage to your shoulder having someone push it back in there who wasn't a doctor. And I'm like, I just wanted to play. He's like, I understand. I get it from a teammate standpoint. But from a logic standpoint, that's really stupid. You did something very stupid and dumb. Now you have a longer time of rehab because you messed yourself up. So I understand, like, yes, outside it looks very dumb. But from the standpoint of being a teammate for like a very blue collar organization, very blue collar team, they need him. If they don't have him, they're going to get blown out every single time because no one respects the pass otherwise. But with him, at least you have to drop back. And even if it's going to cost maybe a ruptured spleen or something, like, he wants to go out there and try. It's his spleen. You want to do it, man? I'm not going to watch and cheer like a gladiator or something, but like, I wish you the best. I hope you don't, you know, hope they're not carrying you out there in a bag.
Right. Well, that gets me to 3 bright spots for the Lions, and that is that there are 3 Pro Bowlers from the team: TJ Hawkinson, Frank Ragnow, and Jack Fox. Let's quickly, before we sign off, go through those. I think we'll start with Frank, who, he's been through some stuff.
Yeah, he missed his first game of the season last week against Tennessee. He's been one of the most remarkably consistent players in the NFL this season, especially on the offensive line. Only had 2 penalties all season, which is astounding for the Lions That lets you know how bad the rest of the offensive line is if he's only had 2. I've seen numerous holding calls. But he had to miss because he fractured his throat.
Oh, jeez.
Which I don't know for those people, like I guess Dr. Paul will correct me if need be. But like, to my knowledge, bone is a lot harder than cartilage. So bone's easier to break just because it's very much there. Cartilage is very hard to break unless you get hit very hard at a very specific spot. So for him to break his throat, I mean, someone popped him very hard in the throat, hopefully incidentally, like it wasn't on purpose. Hit him very hard in the throat, and like he still thought about like, I might still play. It's like, what are you doing? You can't talk. Like part of playing center in the NFL is being able to talk and call out line calls. If your throat is broken, you cannot talk. You cannot yell, please don't play. Please don't. Whatever you want to do with like something else. Like here's how I feel about with Stafford back to Ragnow back and forth. If Stafford's spleen is hurt or something, or his fingers hurt or whatever, that's a personal thing. Like it's going to only really affect him. His throws will still be the same, just about there plus. If Frank Ragnow can't talk as a center, he's putting everyone at risk because if he can't make a line call, like look out for the backside linebacker, watch out for the safety coming off the edge, someone's going to come in on a blitz uncovered and just mess somebody up. 100% mess somebody up. So the fact he didn't play is very good. The Lions lost by 20 points anyway, so like it didn't matter at all. Derrick Henry ran all over the defense. So like the offensive side did not really matter at all.
There's a couple more. TJ Hawkinson.
I thought he was a surprise. Honestly, I thought it was a surprise pick because just watching him play, yeah, he had some bright moments. Yeah, he didn't have some bright moments, but I was like, well, his numbers seem kind of paltry to me. But when you look at ranked through all the tight ends in the NFL, he's second in most of the categories, third in like a select few of all the tight ends in the entire NFL. And the people up in front of them are Darren Fells of the Las Vegas Raiders, who's a pretty respectable receiving tight end, and superstar Travis Kelce, who like is the receiving tight end mold. That's who you want catching passes. So like to be behind only those two and ahead of so many other great tight ends like Rob Gronkowski of Tampa Bay, etc., that's great. Like he's in great company as a young player. And if he can build off that, sky's the limit for him.
And then finally, a name that, I mean, look, there's just something about the magic of kickers and punters and the Detroit Lions. But Jack Fox, hell of a year.
Yeah, one upside when your offense is terrible is you get to go out there and kick the ball a lot as a punter. You punt the ball a lot in a game if your offense is bad because 3 and out, it's your time to shine. And he's second and third in most categories, hitting a lot of booming punts. Albeit some of the stats that he gets are because of the coverage team is pretty well. But he was kicking the stuffing out of the ball the last few times I saw him. So I'm happy for him to get out there and do it as well. Bright spot, if teams aren't scoring a lot, typically your partner will be having a great year. If teams are scoring on you a lot, your kick returner will have a great year. Remember that one year when Eddie Drummond, who played for the Lions, was a kick returner? He was a Pro Bowler because he had 3 kickoff returns for touchdowns. People are like, that's amazing. And I'm like, you fail to realize he had so many kickoff returns for touchdowns because they kept getting scored on. So he had ample chances to return the ball because they kept kicking the ball to him because they kept scoring on us. So like, yeah, it's great for him, but like the team did not do well at all. Like the team was very bad, but like I'm happy for him. So I'm happy for Jack Fox. I'm happy for all 3 players because it's good to be recognized for your talent, even if your team's not doing great. I know the last few years, the Lions have only had like maybe 1 or 2 Pro Bowlers, I think combined. So to see they had 3 in 1 year is like great. And I know especially because unlike baseball where they choose a player for every team just to like make it like nice, they don't do that in football. So like if you don't have a player that's good enough, you just don't have a Pro Bowler.
Right.
That's it. You just don't have one. So the fact the Lions have 3, not Pro Bowl alternates, not like players who are like, well, he's selected because someone's going to playoffs or whatever and can't, go to the Pro Bowl. 3 like starting players. That's really great to see. And I'm very happy for them.
Well, Fletcher Sharpe, I appreciate you. I've appreciated you all of 2020. You're one of the bright spots in the dumpster fire that has been this year. And it's been really great having you on. And I look forward to 2021, sir.
So I'm a Pro Bowler?
A Pro Potter, maybe.
I'm taking that. I'm putting that on my jacket.
Fletcher Sharpe at Saint FDW on the Twizzler. Good to talk to you, man.
Thanks for having me.
And that's it for today's show. Thank you so very much for listening. Thank you for the kind reviews on Apple Podcast. Oh my gosh, absolutely awesome. And of course, thanks to our members at patreon.com/dailydetroit. A couple of housekeeping things. There is one more show before I take a little bit of a break for the day of Christmas. The team is getting together. Cheyenne, Randy, Fletcher, who you just heard, Devin O'Reilly, and we're just going to have a little chat about the end of the dumpster fire that is 2020 and look forward to 2021. That will be in your feed tomorrow. It'll be a little bit different than our standard episode. We don't normally do these chat shows, but, figured we'd shake it up a little bit. And then, of course, back to your normal programming on Monday. Well, thanks so much for listening. I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other, and I'll see you around Detroit.